Have you ever looked at a store and read the name and still had no idea what they sold or what they did? Take a name like the Black Sheep. What is that? Is it a butcher shop? Is it a music store? Do they sell antique shovels? I don't know what they do. It's the Black Sheep. It's just too ambiguous. Thankfully, there are businesses out there that can name themselves in such a way that informs you immediately and then lets your imagination run wild. On this episode of the Locals Only podcast, I present to you The Bee Store. John Klapperich is the owner of the Bee Store, located in Tackett's Mill in Lake Ridge, Virginia. John has been working with bees for the better part of a decade, and his manager at the store, Terry Segal, has 5 years under her belt. Now, it wasn't an immediate fascination with honeycombs and bugs. Though bees have always been interesting to John, he never thought it would become a reality. He found himself spending his days commuting in endless traffic, sitting in mindless meetings, and feeling like he was accomplishing nothing. An easily replaceable cog in the machine of bureaucracy. Towards the end of his military career, and after decades of being an outdoorsy type, John had his eyes on change. But he felt that living in the burbs or the city, there was no place for a bee. Our pollinating compatriots needed wide open spaces and a farm, or so he thought. At the end of a training course one day, the instructor had everyone tell where they lived and something interesting about themselves. One lady casually said, "Well, I live in Arlington and I'm a beekeeper." 2 weeks later, John had his bees. Now, back in those days, you couldn't just go to the bee store because it didn't exist. So what John did was he asked around and met somebody online actually and said, "Hey, do you mind if I buy some of these bees from you? Can I get the equipment?" And sure enough, the gentleman he was talking to in Ohio had family that lived in the area. So the man said, "Hey, I'll come down there right away and I'll bring the equipment. I'll even deliver all the stuff for you, no problem." And then, ironically, the one thing that John needed was the bees. He had everything else. So what he had to do was he actually had to order them. And I didn't know this before making this little episode, but you can order bees through the mail. I didn't know that. So back in 2012, John started a slightly different business, but with the same idea. It was called Sweet Sophia. Now, Sweet Sophia was their effort at harnessing their hard-earned honey from their beekeeping hobby. They started with honey, of course, then moved to candles, lip balms, lotions, salves, soaps, and various gourmet products like jam or honey mustard. They put the honey in honey barbecue. Not to mention, they have the largest mead selection on the East Coast. They did the craft fair circuit for many years until COVID tragically shut it down. Then, in 2017, they opened the Bee Store, mainly because they wanted to sell more products than just the honey. They wanted more things for the people. At the time, there was only one beekeeping supply store in the area, and their hours and location made it very difficult for John to get there. So, like true entrepreneurs, they saw an opportunity and seized it. They set out to open a shop with beekeeping supplies that was easily accessible to the many beekeepers in the area. Now, they have a nice variety of bee-themed boutique items that accompanied their Sweet Sophia brand they've continued to sell to this day. If you're looking to follow in the sticky footsteps of beekeepers, John recommends taking one of their classes. Beekeeping can be really overwhelming alone at first. You can't just put your beehive anywhere. And take anything you read or watch on the internet with a big grain of salt. Just because some guy with a YouTube channel is telling you some information that you're supposed to trust doesn't mean it's... Hey, wait a... I asked John if he had anything else he wanted to add, and he mentioned that now's the time to get into the beekeeping. He said, "I see what's happening to the region. I cringe. It seems like this current local government has never seen a green space they didn't want to tear down. The data center craze is destroying natural habitats for many creatures, including our native pollinators. Additionally, the continual need to develop pushes more predators like bears closer to the suburbs, where many beekeepers are at risk. We've seen bears in Dale City, Burke, Fairfax Station, and Manassas. Not to mention that the primary nectar source, nectar is the sole source of carbohydrates for bees, it's what honey's made out of, comes from trees. The wanton destruction of the forests for the sake of parking lots, new houses, and data centers offers nothing in return. Except for parking lots and new houses and data centers. But anyways, I also asked John if there were any rival hobbies that beekeepers have, like how guitar players are natural enemies with drummers, or how gas car enthusiasts are natural enemies with electric car enthusiasts. Are there any hobbies or companies making things difficult for beekeepers? Perhaps Venus flytrap enthusiasts? He answered, I'll tell you that hummingbird enthusiasts frequently complain about beekeepers. There would be a natural variety. There's only so many flowers to go around. But in all seriousness, it would probably be local governments. I then asked if there was anything he wanted to personally add to the video, and he had this to say. The past couple of years have been tough on small businesses. We've been fortunate enough to have a flexible business plan, devoted customer base, and a rather niche product in order to keep our business afloat. Small businesses need help, so whenever possible, visit a local shop rather than ordering online. Amazon will eventually be the end of small business. While I was there at his store, he was showing me around. He said that you can't really try on gloves on the internet. And there's no actual sizing. Extra small from one company could be a medium from another. And it's not like you really know how big your hands are. I mean, you can measure them, sure, but it's not like pants where, 32 for men's is 32. Well, I guess women, it's more like women's pants because, a 0 is different from a 0 from this company. Anyways, point is that if you're interested in the life of an amateur beekeeper or you want to become a professional, he knows exactly what to do with each product in his store because he either made it himself or he used it himself. So if you're interested in joining the arms of every beekeeper in the nation, John has a short story that he wrote that explains his growing pains. I'll have that story in the description below, so please check it out. It's really funny.
Bees! Bees! Bees in the car! Bees everywhere! God, they're huge! They're ripping my flesh off!
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to have more content coming out. So please let YouTube know you want to see more things like this, and YouTube will let me know that they'll consider paying me or getting me a sponsorship or something. I have no idea. But if you hit any button or all the buttons, it'll help me out for sure, because they won't know unless you let them know. And also, if you want to come on the show, please reach out as well. You can email, you can leave a comment. I'll have every way you can contact me in the description below. There's so many people that reached out to me this month, I almost don't have any time to do anything else. This is Patrick from the Locals Only podcast saying thanks for watching. All right, bye-bye.